Hello, this is Dr. Young. I want to talk about assignment 3. I'm sorry, week 3, assignment 2. We're planning. Basically, you're going to learn how to use PowerPoint. You may already know how to use it, but this is a nice exercise to either help you learn it or refresh your skills. So you've been asked by the top leadership in your organization to develop a PowerPoint presentation on how business is doing relative to the previous year. This will include a comparison of the following for the fiscal year and the previous fiscal year. Okay, so basically you are making this up. It's really a, make up your own organization and make up some numbers for these. I mean, obviously it makes sense. They have to make sense. Sales, profits, expenses, stock prices, if applicable, any other applicable figures for your organization. I think I just skipped employee turnover numbers. I'm sorry. So you're making this up. Basically, what you need to understand about this assignment is not the information, it's not the content per se that is important. It's how it's communicated, how it's presented. That is what I'm looking at. So basically you want to include a slide for each of the areas where you discuss the comparison of the 2 years. I want to see a graph here. I want to see a comparison graph. You can make graphs in Microsoft PowerPoint or Excel and then insert them into the PowerPoint. Either way is fine, as long as it's in the PowerPoint in the end. Then after you do this, so when you're think about your experience. Whenever you've attended have you ever attended an annual meeting at a company that you work for, or some kind of training session or informative session? Think about what those PowerPoints look like. Have you seen charts there? Google them. Look up charts, business charts, sales charts. Look them up and model yours after that. Do not copy and paste one from a site and stick it in your presentation. I will be looking for that. Don't do it. Make sure to make up your own. I don't care if you use one for a model, understand. Change the numbers, change something, make it your own. I understand if you want to use that as a template, if you go, if you do some research, but don't copy and paste one, because I don't want to see that. This is supposed to be your own original material. Okay, so after you completed your presentation, write a memo to the top leadership summarizing what you have found in terms of comparison of numbers between the 2 years. The memo should be a 2 to 3 page Microsoft Word document. It should include all the components of a professional communication and graphics where needed. Keep your audience in mind. So we've talked about presenting, communicating. This is one exercise where you're putting it to the test. I want to see something professional in a Microsoft PowerPoint. Obviously, it doesn't need to be that long. I would like to see a title page and a page for each of these points. In other words, you should be able to have a chart that reflects in turnover. You should be able to have a chart that reflects sales, profits, expenses. I mean, stock price. If you've got another one, feel free to use a different one than stock prices, But I want to see you show me something professional that you would present in a business among colleagues and subordinates. And then I want the memo to be a memo, which we practiced the memo in the discussion, so you should be able to do that. Make sure to cite any sources that you use in APA format. It is due by Tuesday. And you can see here that there's this breakdown, but there is a rubric for this assignment. And so I will be using this as your grading criteria. I will be using this to grade your papers. Check out the part that says exemplary. If you want the maximum grade, I would follow these to a T. One thing about PowerPoints, speaker notes. You need to have speaker notes. So what I'm saying there is when you're putting your charts on the actual slides, in the speaker notes of the PowerPoint, you want to explain to me what's in those slides. Okay? So make sure to do that. That's how a proper PowerPoint is completed. So just make sure to, all these written components, everything in here needs to be covered for the maximum grade. And this is worth several points. So you really want to focus on it. You really want to take the time to do it properly. I'm really looking for some substantive memo information, and I'm looking for some really nice charts and an explanation for those charts in the speaker notes and professional looking PowerPoint presentation. So that should do it. You probably will do some research for this. I believe here, let's see here. So that's, remember the memo part, the memo is a 2 to 3 page Microsoft Word. I did not give you, there is not a page limit for the PowerPoint. However, I think you're going to need to give me 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 5 pages for each point. And like I said, if you don't want to use stock prices, use a different one. I mean, the more you give me, I'm going to be honest, the more impressed I'm going to be. I mean, really, this, I'm not saying you need to give me 20 pages on a PowerPoint, but if you go above and beyond, I mean, obviously you're going to get the best grade. What I want to make sure, though, that you will need to have speaker notes. If you give me a graph, just graphs and no explanation, I mean, that's going to count off. So, like I said, study that rubric. That's your key. Study the rubric. And if you have any questions or concerns, let me know. I'll be happy to help, happy to answer any questions that you may have. This is a very comprehensive assignment. Keep in mind the amount of points it's worth. Put your best effort into it. And make sure one more thing. If you use APA format, if you're citing, like if you use information from a source in your chart materials, you still need to cite it in the PowerPoint. And the way you cite in the PowerPoint is the in-text citation will go in the speaker notes, and then the reference page is at the end in the last slide, the very last slide. So that was the last thing I wanted to throw in there. Sometimes I forget to say that. So make sure to cite them and if you're using a source. What I would have to tell you, though, is if you're using any kind of chart that's almost exactly like the one you put in your PowerPoint and you're changing the numbers and using your own material, I think I would still cite the source where you got the chart if it looks exactly the same. Honestly, I'd prefer you just use the format and change the colors, change the fonts, change the style of it so make it your own. But if you do use something that's almost similar to something on the internet, make sure to cite the source that you got it from. Okay, I think that's about it. So if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks.